Yes, I can't think of a better way to start the 2026 webinar year than with a webinar featuring Marina Galan, one of the world's leading international communicators of the understanding of the three principles. So a very warm welcome to all of you to this webinar organized by the 3PNO, the Three Principles Norway. My name is Helga Holmberg. 3PNO is a non-profit organization whose mission is to spread understanding of the three principles first discovered by Sydney Banks in 1973. We aim to be a Norwegian community for everyone interested in the three principles. And today, we are very fortunate to have Marina Galan with us. Marina is a mentor, coach, and speaker who works with individuals, groups, and organizations all over the world. And today she has chosen the topic, loving enough. And so, my dear Marina, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Helga. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you very much for inviting me. I agree. I cannot think of a better way to start 2026 than spending some time with you guys talking about love, right? Love. And I remember when we had the conversation, Helga, and you asked me what is touching you lately, and I told you loving enough, and it was a very interesting way, the way that that sentence and those words were playing in my head, loving enough, because it was the holidays and it was Christmas, and I was surrounded by family, and there were some members of the family that I really wanted to be there, and there were some members of my family that I didn't really want to be there. And so there were all these interactions, and I was surrounded by a lot of friends as well during the holidays, where we were spending the holidays. And we have been going to this place to spend the holidays for, I don't know, 40 years maybe. So we all know each other. We all grew up together. We know each other's stories, each other's kids, divorces, second husbands, family deaths. We know the whole thing. And this apartment that we were staying at used to belong to my mother. And now it is mine. My brothers were not interested in it, so I bought their parts. And I was having all these dreams about my mother, and I was waking up in the morning, thinking, my God, my mother's apartment, but it's now mine, and I can take away that ugly painting that I never liked, and nobody can bring to me. And my kids were like, no, the painting. And so we were having all these conversations about family and about heritage and about loyalty and about friendship and how that happens in life. But we were also talking about places, and so it started dawning on me very slowly over the course of those days that love is universal, both in its origin, but also that which inspires it in us can be universal. We can love anything we want, right? I mean, like, we can love early mornings or late mornings, and we can love rain, but we can also love the sunshine, but we can love the wind, but we can love the stillness. We can love our kids, we can love our dogs, we can love our memories. We can love the sound of the ocean. And And what I started seeing was that the invitation to love was always present. But it didn't stop there. The invitation to love everything is always present. Everything that is. And even everything that isn't. And so I would have these experiences in which I was listening to the ocean. I was saying, God, I am loving the sound of the ocean, but I am hating the sound of the mosquito, right? And so, but there was an invitation to love the sound of the mosquito as well. And I imagined for a second that maybe the mosquito was trying to whisper in my ears the secrets of the universe. I just couldn't understand the language. And so I started becoming really interested in the sound of the mosquito, you know? And so the invitation to love is ever growing in us, in our lives. No matter where we are, no matter what we are experiencing, no matter if there are challenging times or easy times. And when we dare respond to that invitation, we change. We transform. But we do not change, you know, randomly. We do not transform randomly. We actually come closer to the truth of who and what we are. The more we are able to love, and I'm not talking about a ravaging love. No, just loving what is, you know, accepting what is, embracing what is. The closer we come to ourselves, the more aligned we are with our true nature. And the easier everything becomes in our lives, even ourselves. Even ourselves. You know, because we were in the ocean, I was observing people, you know, and everybody was loving the ocean and loving the waves and loving the sun and, you know, the sunscreen and the conversation. But as soon as anybody would go to the bathroom, they would walk by this huge mirror, right? And I would see every single person walking through that mirror, in front of that mirror, look at themselves and pop in their stomach and walk straighter, you know, and hide something or the other. And it was so evident how immediate they went from being in a state of pure joy to judgment about themselves. And my heart was filled with compassion for them, because I could relate. You know, I caught myself doing the exact same thing, walking by that mirror. But there was so much compassion. There was like, man, what would my life be like if I accepted myself completely? If I loved myself completely? And I remembered a sentence someone told me long time ago that said, what if your body is the perfect vessel you needed to be able to fulfill your purpose? What if a different body could not have helped you fulfill your purpose in your life? Because we do judge our bodies, don't we? Yes, I can see your faces. Come on. And we do judge our thinking, and we do judge our story and ourselves and our decisions. And what if we didn't? What if we were able to refrain ourselves from the temptation of judging everything, anything. And so the word loving enough started sounding redundant. Because what is enough? Do my kids love me enough? Do I love them enough? Do I love the world enough? Do I love nature enough? I know life loves me completely. I know nature loves me completely. It allows me completely. But as soon as we get to humans, that's when the thing starts to get tricky. And so we come up with words like enough, loving enough. What does that even mean? And I don't think there is an enough. I think we can speak about demonstrating love enough. But I don't think there is a midterm in loving. You either love or you don't, you know? It's like you cannot be kind of pregnant. You cannot kind of love someone. You either do or you don't. But you have a say in whether you express it enough or not, in whether you allow it enough or not. Knowing that in the measure that we allow it in ourselves, what we are allowing is ourselves, changes the equation, changes our experience of it. Because think about it. Well, okay, don't think about it. Just reflect about it for a second. Consider the possibility for a second. Consider the possibility that your purpose in life is being you, right? Because you were chosen. You were handpicked and engineered through centuries and centuries and centuries. And you were summoned into life now. Come, you are worth it. The universe says, I want to experience myself through Helga or through Toril and suddenly, what if that was it? That's the purpose. And what takes you away from being truly, fully you? What could possibly deviate you from that? Except your own thinking and your own judgment. There is a quote in the Oriental traditions that says, listen to this, okay? Given authenticity, there will be enlightenment. What is authenticity if not being yourself? And it's as simple as that, right? Just like being authenticity, there will be enlightenment. It sounds simple, doesn't it? It's like, oh, we got this. We so got this. But no, hold on. What does authenticity actually really mean? It means being the truest version of you at any given moment. Beyond your conditioning, beyond your preferences, beyond your judgments. And the truth is that when you are there, there is nothing but you. right? In the last couple of days, I've had conversations with people that have very close family members that are dying, that will be dead within a couple of weeks, like they are in the last days of their lives. Now, one of them is an 87-year-old woman who has beat cancer about 3 times, and now, you know, it's become more difficult, and etc. The other one is a 32-year-old girl who has this chronic syndrome that debilitates her muscles and her connective tissue and her nerves and throughout time. Now, she is in so much suffering right now that she is making the decision to end her life. And so she lives in a place where she can do that. She can choose that. And so she's preparing herself. And the family, everybody's preparing for that. But on the other end of the spectrum, like the family, they are all preparing, and she's preparing because they know that it's happening. And the conversations that we are having is like, they don't do anything anymore except sleep and maybe, you know, utter a sentence or two, but that is enough. And I asked them, these people, about the lives of their loved ones, you know, and they said, oh, it was enough. Doesn't matter what they did or didn't do. You know, this 30-year-old woman has been bedridden for decades, but her life has been enough. What happens when we see a newborn and we say, oh, no, they are already perfect. You don't need to add anything to them. They are already enough, more than enough. They are already perfect. They are already everything they are supposed to be. But then as soon as age begins to happen, then there are other expectations, because when you are 6 months old, then you should be doing this. And when you are 8 months old, you should be doing that. And when you're 2 years old, you should be doing that other thing. But the interesting thing is that even when they don't, their life is still enough. Their self is still enough. Their being is still enough. One of my very best friends in life has a child with cerebral palsy, and I cannot think of a single day in which she has not been enough, in which she has not been absolutely perfect, in which anyone in the world would think we would be better off without her. And so, is it the same being enough and loving enough? I am seeing reflective faces. It's not, is it, Med? And so here's the thing. You cannot not be enough, ever, no matter what you do. That has been taken care of by life. Thank God. We make up that it's up to us to be enough, but it's not true. You have always been enough. We have always been enough. No questions asked. But what about love? Have we appreciated enough? Have we observed enough? Are we in awe enough? You're going to get a crack out of this. I was driving home 2 days ago from Mexico City's airport to Querétaro. And I was pretending that I was asleep, wanting to fall asleep, but not being able to fall asleep in the car. Yes. So I'm sitting like this. And my 17-year-old kid is sitting next to me. And the 20-year-old boy is sitting next to him. And the 18-year-old boy is sitting behind us. And they are having this conversation. Hold your horses. The 17-year-old says, you know, the problem with life is that once you hit our age, there is no magic left. There is no awe left. There is really nothing else to look forward to. And of course, I am trying not to laugh, but at the same time, I am trying not to smack him, you know, and tell him, you don't know the first thing about life. Oh, man, come on. And I started thinking, you know, wait until you become a father. Wait until you help someone that is in a dire situation and see how that feels. Wait until. And then I stopped myself and I said, hold on, what do you mean wait until? Take a walk outside, go to the countryside, look at the animals, look at nature. What do you mean there is not enough magic and there is not enough awe and there is not enough mystery? It's all you are a freaking mystery, right? It's just that you are looking at life through exhausted eyes. And you have convinced yourself that you already know everything. And the conversation went on and on and on, and they touched on all these things, you know, and purpose and gratitude and all. It was one of the most interesting conversations I have ever heard them have. But I wanted so much to hold them and tell them, boys, you don't know half of it. You know, just life is absolutely filled with mystery and beauty and miracles. It's just that you're not seeing them. And so while being is enough. Loving is a completely different thing, even though our essence is love. You see the trick there? Our essence is love, so being is enough. But we can deliberately create the experience of loving. We can deliberately create the experience of loving in ourselves and in others. Right? I often quote the Aretha Franklin song, Good Man, that says, take me for granted, living love unshowed. And she's absolutely on point. She's absolutely right. The second we stop showing love, it's because we have taken it for granted. And I had this conversation with my youngest kid a couple of weeks ago, or last week. And I was telling him, I want you to hug me. I want a hug. And he was like, why? And I told him, because I want to feel love. And he was like, but you know that I love you. And I'm like, yeah, but you haven't really shown it to me today. So can you just please hug me? So we had this conversation, you know? You know that I love you. Yeah, I know that you love me. But isn't it nice when you show it? Isn't it nice for both of us? Isn't it beautiful for both of us when we deliberately create the experience of love? And I have another one of my best friends. It's really funny because I don't know anyone that she's friends with that doesn't say that she is their best friend. right? Like everybody says that she is their best friend. And when I observe her, I see why. Because she loves them deliberately. She goes out of her way to call them, to send them messages, to remember their birthdays, to invite them to her house once every few weeks for dinner or for breakfast. And when they show up, she has set up the table and she has put candles, and she has, there's this expression of love. And so what I was reflecting on when we talked about the title of today's conversation, what I was thinking, okay, being love is enough, and life doesn't ask anything else of me. But boy, can I bring more than just being into life. And when I do, the world changes for the better. And I transform for the better. Now look at life. Look at nature. Isn't it just a freaking explosion of showing love? Look at flowers. Like, they didn't even need to exist, but they're there, and they bloom and they burst in your face. It's like life telling you, see how much I love you. I made this for you so that you could see it and relish in the beauty of it. It's a very windy day today here in Querétaro. And one of my favorite things to do is to go outside and listen to the sound that the wind makes when it blows through different trees, because it's different in every tree. When I was young, I wanted to create a garden in which the trees would be placed in a certain way that it would sound a certain way when the wind blew. And then I realized that I couldn't do that because I could never control the direction in which the wind was blowing. But still, right? Isn't that life showing love? Look at your faces. There's Toril and your partner, and Pierre and your partner, you're there together, like, look at each other. Isn't that life saying, look, I made this for you. I love you so much that I made this for you. And so life, its essence is love, but it doesn't stop showing it ever. 24/7. And so what I am asking when I ask, are you loving enough? Is not, are you loving enough? Is, are you actively, deliberately loving enough? Loving yourself enough. Last night, I had dinner with a friend. And when I got home, it was really dark. But I could see there was this huge, a little bigger than my hand. We call them leaf bugs because they look like a leaf. But it was really dark. But I saw it on the wall right next to the entrance. And I was, like, wow, look at you. Aren't you a beauty? My God, I'm sorry it's so dark and I can see you. And then this morning when I left to the doctor, I was in a hurry and I left. And right now when I came back, guess what? It was still there. But this time the sun was shining through. And so I could see, so I'm going to show you the picture of the leaf bug. Consider that it is slightly bigger than my hand. Now you tell me that this is not absolute love and beauty. Right? And so it's like, oh my God, thank you, life. You brought me this gift today. Just for me to see. You know, I am hoping that it will still be there when my kids get home. So I tell them, look at that. And see their reaction and tell them about mystery. You see? And when we love deliberately, on purpose, because we freaking choose to, doesn't it feel amazing? I love you just because I want to. I don't need any other reason. I love the leaf bug because I want to. I don't need any other reason. And I love my friends and my neighbors and my kids and even the family members that I didn't want to be there. I still love them deliberately. And sometimes the ways in which we show love deliberately are very much misinterpreted. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. So last week, I was with my 3 boys and my ex-husband in a trip in Utah, skiing in the mountains, okay? We do this once a year because we want to keep the family dynamic alive, even though the couple is no longer the couple, okay? But we have been doing this forever. So we are up in the mountains and we are skiing and my knee is a mess and I had to rest for a couple of days because a cyst got inflamed and so it was the last run before lunch, right? So we had agreed this is the last run before lunch. And then we will meet at the restaurant. Okay. So we go up and my boys stop me and they start trying to convince me to do a 2 black diamond with them. Right? And I'm coming out of 2 days of rest because my knee is messed up and the cyst is inflamed. But boy, I really wanted to do it with them. You know, like, and so they start convincing me, no, yes, you can do it. Come on, come with us. I mean, yes, you will fall, but it will be fun and it doesn't matter. And so I say, okay. And I turn around to tell my ex-husband that I am going with them and he's gone. And so I can't tell him that I am going with my boys in the 2 black diamond run. And so I say, okay. And of course, my kids go down that road in 8 minutes, but it took me 35 minutes to get down. I fell, I was up to my eyelashes in powder many times, you know, everything. And then we finally got down and we got to the restaurant. And of course, I have 5 missed calls from my ex-husband, you know. And so I know that he's going to be upset. And I call him and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Where the hell are you? I've been looking for you in every blue run. And I'm like, no. I went down the 2 black diamonds with the boys. Are you insane? Your knee. I was so worried. So anyway, he says, I'm on my way. And he gets there and he's really upset and he doesn't want to talk to me. And he's just ignoring me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry I didn't tell you, but you were gone. You could have messaged me. Yeah, you're right, etc., etc., etc. But it was very clear to me that he was showing me love. through his worry. And so I could have, pick up a fight with him very easily. Well, I am free to ski whatever run I want with whomever, especially if my kids are. We could have picked up a fight. It would have been very easy. But I knew I could see through the worry and the attack. And I knew that that was love and concern. And so I waited for a couple of days. And then after a couple of days, I told him, I want to thank you so much for worrying about me. And he was like, what? I was so upset. And I'm like, I know you were upset, but you were worried about me. And that means you love me and you care about me. And I want to thank you for that. And he got all flushed and he was like, let's go. Just keep walking. But you see, I was talking with a woman a few days ago, and she was very upset because his husband is always late because they don't have the work. And so when he gets home, she gets really cross at him and she yells and she screams and you always do the same thing. And so we went into exploration and the bottom of the whole point was that she was missing him and she wanted to spend more time with him because she loved him. But instead of saying that, she was saying, where the hell were you? And it's always the same with you. You see? When she could have said, man, I really, really miss you. I really want to spend more time with you. Can we try to find a way to do that? And they're both love. They're not being shown the same way. One is filled with wisdom and kindness, and the other isn't. Is this making any sense? Yes. Good. So the question is, how can we love more deliberately? Show it. Bring more love into our lives like that. What would our lives look like if we did? What could possibly change in your life if you decided to deliberately love everything and show it? What do you think? How would your lives change? I'd love to hear what you're sensing, what you're imagining that could be like. If you allowed yourself to see more magic, unlike my 17-year-old boy, if you just allowed more magic and love and mystery and joy into your life. Yes. Do I need to ask them to unmute themselves? No, you just unmute yourself. No problem.
Yeah. I thought about being more curious about life instead of just going to meet life with more love, just being curious about life, and then automatically you will realize that love is around, and that life and the people around, they might respond with love back again.
I absolutely and completely agree with you. I am a firm believer that curiosity is an act of love, because it keeps judgment away.
Yeah.
And it prevents you from making up your mind about anything. It's a recognition of, I don't know. Let me look again. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I am trying to pronounce your name correctly. Øyvind.
That's correct. Very good, Marina.
Thank you. This is me showing you love deliberately, you see.
Oh, thank you. You know, when I was listening to you, a song comes to me that's called Love is All Around. And for me, that's really true. And, you know, I used to love when I saw this love, when I met friendly people, when I had, you know, the weather was like I wanted. So every time I saw love or experienced love in my life, I embraced it and loved it, and I give it love, you know. But when I met the opposite, the you know, bad people or cold weather or whatever, I didn't want that. I didn't see the love in that. But that's changed for me now, because sometimes I don't see the love in that, but then I start to get curious, like you just said. And then so often when I don't see love, and maybe something feels very hard for me, or some people feels like they are making my life very hard, I used to judge them people. But now, and sometimes it's hard for me, but so more often now, then I get very curious. And very often when I start get curious and I start get, you know, more in a listening mode, I go into this and just start not listening to my own reaction, like judgment, and then I get into something, another state, and then so many times it changes. The person in front of me actually changes from being something that's from yeah. So I see that love is all around, all the time. But when you don't see it as well, love is there. And if you then just start get curious, because I know if I don't see love, if there's something that's making me very uncomfortable or something, then I know that I just, sometimes I just have to give it a little bit time maybe, or just start being curious. And sometimes it doesn't help. It's just keep on, I don't see the love, and okay, that's okay as well.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting playing with curiosity, because it might seem like your curiosity is not an active form of showing love. You know, like you're just curious. You're opening yourself to seeing. You're opening yourself to receiving. But when you look at it deeper, because it puts judgment away, and because it puts having made up your mind away, and it puts knowing away, you are actually giving the other person or life or the leaf bug or anything the opportunity to dazzle you, to make you feel love again. You see, I remember, and I apologize if you've heard this story before, but when my father turned 80 years old, I woke up that morning with the certainty that he was too old to change now. You know, 80s an old age to change now. And in the face of that certainty, I was like, oh, he's not going to change now. The next thought was, oh, well, given that he can't change now, I am left with two options. Either I keep insisting on the father I want, or I get to know the father I have. And it was a no-brainer. It was like, well, I really want to get to know my father before he dies, right? So I started approaching my father with curiosity, you know, like, I want to know who you are. I want to understand why you made the decisions that you made. And regardless of whether those decisions were positive or negative or good or bad, or I just want to get to know you. And I didn't tell him that. I just started approaching him with curiosity, you know, asking questions and the way he responded, the way he started opening up, showed me a father I could never have imagined that was behind what I was seeing. And I knew, I had the absolute certainty that none of my brothers had ever approached him without judgment. As I hadn't before. There had always been judgment. And as soon as there was no judgment, and as soon as he felt that there was no judgment, he started opening up and showing me the most unexpected, beautiful aspects of him that had never been shown, that had never come out. Mind you, he lived to be 95. I didn't know that, right? So I had the pleasure of having 15 years of an absolutely wonderful relationship with my father, which I am incredibly grateful for. But it all started because I thought he was too old to change. Now, the interesting thing is that a couple of years after that experience, I was telling a friend of mine this, and he told me, what about your mother? And I said, oh no, she's still young. She still can change. And in that second, I realized, oh my God, what am I doing? And so that afternoon, I went to see my mother, and I sat down with her, you know, made her some coffee, sat down with her, and I told her, Mom, I want you to know that I am freeing you of the mother that I wanted you to be. Very grandiose, right? And she said, well, thank you. And I was so pissed off because I wanted her to tell me that she was freeing me from the daughter that she wanted me to be too. And she was not freeing me. And in that moment, I realized, oh my God, I am not setting her free. I am lying through my teeth. I still want her to free me from her expectations. And I just had to laugh at myself. And like you're saying, Avid, it was like, just drop it. Maybe you're not there yet with her in particular. The interesting part is that I never reached that point with my mother. Our relationship never healed before she died. And even after she was gone, I was upset and resentful, and I thought it was unfair and all these things. And then two things happened that have been very interesting. The first one was I was having a memorial for her here in my house, with her friends, and all the pictures were up, and everybody was telling me how much she loved me and how much she admired me. And I was like, what? Like that's what? No. And then after the 10th person told me, she loved you so much and she admired you so much and she talked about you all the time, I thought, like, well, what if that is actually the truth of my mother and not what she showed me? And it looked like a much kinder truth, right? And so I said, okay, I'll keep that one and I'll just discard this one and let's see what happens. And over the next few days, I revisited my life, and I went from having a mother that was cruel and that was unloving and that was unkind and that was cold and that was to having a mother that loved me deeply and admired me deeply and had all these beautiful feelings. She just didn't know how to show them. And I realized that that conversation had actually changed my past. I did not know that conversations and insights could do that they could change the past. And then the second interesting thing that happened in the last week of December while I was talking to Helga about loving enough. Yes, Helga. And I suddenly realized the difference between what my mother had told me that I had to do and was the right thing to do and should be done, and what she had done. And they were very different, and what she had done was actually much better than anything she had ever said. And so I was like, oh wow, she actually showed me what I had to do. She told me I had to do something different, but she showed me what I had to do. And in that instant, all the resentment fell away. And I didn't know that was possible either, that by seeing one thing, the resentment about 100 things could disappear. But here we are now. And so now I have experienced fully in my life 3 weeks of loving my mother enough not to resent her. And it feels amazing. I wish she were still alive and I could go talk to her, bring a bottle of wine and say, hey, you tricked me because you told me that this was the right thing to do and you did the other thing. You see? But I'm still telling her now. It doesn't really matter. Curiosity. Curiosity keeps the conversation between you and life alive. As long as you remain curious, you will see more. That's why kids learn, because they don't pretend to know. Like my 17-year-old, he pretends to know everything now, right? And he's facing a world void of magic. And I'm going to wait until he falls in love, and then I'm going to tell him, remember that day? Hey, Ellen, how are you today? Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry. Aileen or Aileen.
Very good. Well, I'll go for anything, maybe except alien. But I've heard that too. Alien, yes.
Ellie.
Yeah.
Ellie. Okay.
Thank-
Hi.
Thank you for that deliberate sign of love.
Ah,
I also love song lyrics, like Øyvind was sharing. And one of my favorites is from The Greatest Love of All. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all.
yes, ma'am.
And I think that is, I get all emotional here. That is the way to being more in love with life, is to constantly see and appreciate and cherish who I am myself first. And then it becomes natural to see all the wonders of the world and seeing how people around me kind of misunderstand me or other things, and that's why they behave like they do. But as you said, I loved your example of your ex-husband. I have an ex-husband too. So I could, in one very particular situation, he was accusing me officially of something really bad. And I could see this is actually love, not for me, but for our daughter. And I was able to stay calm. And the situation between us changed from that day on, actually. And now we have a really good relationship. We both have grown so much.
Yeah.
And it is some vivas ago, I saw and heard Linda Poet. She was speaking about our first love affair is with ourselves. And how that relationship, how we enter that relationship and how we are in that relationship will also affect how we love others. And things like the cold. And I guess she didn't say that. That's on me. But I had an experience during Christmas about the power of that self-love. It was, I went through some symptoms that I'm not going to bore you with. But when I thought about, suddenly I had the thought that I can send myself some light that I learned from someone not 3P, but sending light and love is an expression. And I saw, I'm sending light, pure white light for myself and the place for my symptoms. And immediately that got better. Didn't went away, but it was so much better. And I saw the connection between Sending myself light is sending myself love. Treating myself with love. I had forgotten all about it. And this made it so much easier for me to stay in those symptoms until they passed. So I really think we can benefit from seeing that kind of loving yourself. I love myself, not because I'm greater or better than anyone else, but because I am like everyone else. We are amazing, all of us. And
special and unique and phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's easy to say everyone's valuable.
Yes.
And I haven't included myself in everyone. That I have been the exception. I haven't been valuable enough. No. You don't think of me. We are supposed to think about others and be supportive of others. But how about me loving me? And I see how that when you overflow, it will be radiant to others, and others will benefit from me loving myself. And believe me, we are not used to thinking like that in Norway.
Oh, no, I get it. We are not used to thinking it anywhere in the world. We each have our own version of the soap opera, but it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. Now, there are so many interesting things in what you're sharing, Ellen. So when you talk about light, right? And so if we go into quantum physics and all that, the reality of everything is light, right? Matter is just deaccelerated light that has slowed down enough to rearrange its atoms in a different way. But if you speed them up again, they will become light. So that is the true essence of everything. So when you are sending light, you are sending the natural nature. I know that sounds cacophonic horribly enough, but the natural nature of love, of you, of everything, of the universe. Right? Now, loving ourselves. The Buddha said, no? If your compassion does not include yourself, it is worthless. No? Khalil Gibran says, so God told me, go and love your enemy, and then I went and had to learn to love myself. Rumi says, we are not here in this human life to learn to love. We are here to find all the barriers we have put up against it and bring them down. And we could go on and on citing and you know, all these wonderful poets throughout time and sages that have spoken about what we are talking about, right? But ultimately, what they are all pointing to is love is the only truth. Everything else is a story. And the story is the way we put ourselves out of love. We bring ourselves out of love. So if there is resentment, there is a story. If there is something to forgive, there is a story. If there is hate, there is a story. If there is, whatever there is a story. So the only way to get yourself out of love is a story. That's it. Now, here's the thing. The only one telling the story is you. So when I am telling myself the story of resentment against my mother, I am creating my suffering for me, which is the equivalent of saying, I am not loving myself enough. Now, I knew this. I've known this for years. I mean, I've known this even from before my mother died. But again, I wasn't there yet. I don't know. Like, I knew I was being mean to myself by resenting my mother. I was not being mean to her. She was dead. Like, what the hell will she care? Right? I knew I was being mean to myself by resenting her. I just hadn't learned how to not be mean to myself in that particular way. I hadn't seen through that story yet. But if I remain curious and I ask life to show me, it must. Sydney Banks says, if you keep a quiet mind, so no story, curiosity, open mind, yes? If you keep a quiet mind and you look in the right direction, so life show me, because I am connected to you, because I am the child of life and universal intelligence. So if I ask, it must show me. I have been asking for this since before my mother died. Why did it take 2.5 years? I don't know. It took 2.5 years, but then suddenly it was there. And I am so grateful. So the only way to deliberately love ourselves is to stop the story and receive. You know, grace. Life is absolutely filled with gifts of grace that it wants to give you. But if you do not receive them, it can't. What story can you let go of so that more love comes into your life? What identity can you shed that will allow for more joy in your life? Like, remember we were talking about family dynamics? I love families that laugh a lot. And men, well, at least during my marriage, we didn't laugh a lot. We've laughed more after my marriage, but I still would like to laugh more with my children. Like, I really want to have a family dynamic that is fun and joyful. Now, I cannot force that to happen. You know, I cannot buy books about jokes and then sit them down at dinner and I'm going to crack some jokes for you. No, but I can ask life to show me, you know, like, I want to be funnier. I want to learn to laugh more. Show me how. I want lightness. I don't want seriousness. But I don't know how to do it because I am a freaking story. How is a story going to learn to love? It can't. So how can I invite more fun and more laughter and more lightness? And I am open and to receive that. Please show me. And I was talking to my sister-in-law. What was it? I don't know, last month. And she was asking me, how did it go at the Viva event? And I told her it was really fun, but people laughed a lot, and I don't know. And some people even wrote me and asked me where I had learned to be funny, and I didn't pretend to be funny, but I guess I was because people were laughing a lot. And you know what my sister-in-law told me? I know exactly when you became funnier. Do you remember the last time you were visiting us at the desert and you went into the shower and there was this insect, we call it the stick insect. You know the stick insects? Okay, there was this huge stick insect and you told the stick insect, you are a funny thing. Teach me how to be funny like you. And when you came out of the shower, you told me that. That's why you have become funnier, because you asked the stick bug to show you how to be funny, and somehow it managed to. And I burst out laughing because I didn't even remember the story of the stick bug, right? But what if it's that simple? What if we can just ask, show me how to live life in a lighter way? Show me how to have a more fun family dynamic. What if it is that simple? And what if by asking for that, we are deliberately showing love? I mean, if I were on the other side of it, if I were life, I would love if people asked me for that. Show me how to be funny and light and have a more friendly family dynamic. Yes, coming up. Of course. Let's make this happen. Right? Instead of sulking and resentment and how do I take revenge upon? No. I would be sad. If I were life on the other side of that, I would say, okay, I have to show you because you're asking, but man, this is not going to make anyone happy. Anywhere in the world. So yeah, identify all the barriers that you have put up against love and bring them down. Stop feeding those stories. They're not worth it. And the only reason why they're not worth it is because they're not you. Now, talk to you, talk to yourself, talk to your symptoms, talk to your physicality. Yes, talk to it, talk to everything. I was talking to my knee all week last week, saying, we can do this. Yes, we can. I talk to my mind every night before going to bed. I told you, I've said this before, because I realized that in my dreams, I was solving problems. And I thought, what a waste of time. I could be dreaming about traveling to distant galaxies and I don't know, being a unicorn. And I am dreaming about solving problems. That's ridiculous. And so now I talk to my mind every night before going to bed, and I tell her, I want this kind of dream and adventure tonight. I want to have the experience of the most wonderful sex tonight in my dreams. And sometimes my mind listens to me and brings me these amazing dreams, which are much better than solving problems. And I've talked about this before as well. When I was 19 years old, I had a teacher. I was studying theater, and he put us all in a room and he sent us to different corners. And he said, for the next 2 hours, you are going to speak to a part of your body, just one part of your body. Choose. And we're like, what? Talk to a part of your body? Anyway, I chose my feet. I don't know why. And then I had a 2-hour conversation with my feet. And I sobbed like a baby, begging for forgiveness for how I had treated them throughout my life. And they responded back with such compassion. So yes, talk to your physicality. I was talking about this with a friend of mine. last week, and he told me, do you think that if we talk to our eyes, our eyesight might get better? And I said, I don't know, but now I have started speaking to my eyes. It's been 3 days. Too soon to tell, but I will keep you updated. Like, we don't know. What if it works, right?
And if it doesn't, then we have sent love to ourselves.
Yes.
We have actively, deliberately loved ourselves.
On purpose.
So maybe that, I don't know if the eyesight, but something else might change.
Yeah, I know. You know, when I was, last days of December, it occurred to me, I don't know why, this is very strange, but it occurred to me that I needed to tell my body, you need to remember how you were before all this bullshit story. So now every time I remember that, I tell my body, you need to remember what you were and how you were before all this bullshit story. I don't know what that's doing, but it must be doing something. Like, I'm just asking my body to remember. Just remember. Just remember the truth of you. Again, I'll keep you updated. But I went to the doctor today and she told me that in the last year, I have lost 4 kilograms of fat and I have gained 2 kilograms of muscle. So I'm happy with that. I'll just keep talking to my body and I'll keep training and jumping rope. Helga, you had your hand up and I got cut off. I'm sorry. But please.
Yeah, I could listen to you all night, all evening. No, I don't. I don't need to say what I was going to say, I think, but this webinar just has given me so much. I have caught some histories I have around love, and yeah, it just gives me, I think, courage to let go of those stories and just loving all the things I have inside me. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you don't have to what do you call it? Restrain yourself. So yeah, it's been an amazing webinar, Marina, and you are very funny. So maybe not to your boys, that's something, but I was on the Viva and I laughed all the time, and I did also today, so keep on going.
I need to thank the thick bod.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Yes, and self-love, being deliberately self-loving, has very little to do with bubble baths and massages and spas. It has to do with how you talk to yourself, with how you think about yourself. Stop being a tyrant.
Yeah. But I also think the ones that with expressing your love to the ones around you, that we shouldn't be afraid of that either. Like, we can't be too much.
Unleash it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Go all the way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure spending a while with you.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here as well. We're really, really great that you took the time. And wow, what a webinar. What a start. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone coming here today and making this a good webinar.
And let's make 2026 the year. They say it's the year of the horse of fire, right? The year of beginnings. Yeah. So begin loving yourself unashamedly.
Yeah.
And with fire.
With fire. Yes. And keep me updated.
Yes.
All right. I will be seeing you around. Take care. And all my love, deliberate to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ha det, alle sammen.
Thank